a lot of people are stressing out that there might be a deal signed, and they're just stressed that the Islamic Republic is going to remain in power and starting to be very criticizing of the United States government, saying that we shouldn't be saying that we've been saying no negotiations with the terrorists for years. So why is this even on the table now? So just general things like that.
Yeah.
People are very worried, and I don't blame them. I was very worried this morning as well. But that's the thing when you yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, I thought you finished. Go on.
No, I was saying we haven't been in a situation like this ever before, to the point that we had both the United States and Israel physically, like militarily involved in Iran. So it's just the unknown, I think, that is resulting in a lot of frustration, and the direction that it's going, looking like there are negotiations and there might be an eventual deal and things like that, is really stressing people out. And also, but then when you look at the facts, the content of this draft deal, when you look at it, all of us know that, okay, there's no way the IRGC is going to accept all of this. So then people start getting worried, okay, what if they start modifying these content to the point that they would have to reach an agreement, if that makes sense. So there's just a lot of frustration and worries like that.
Okay, you know what we should do? We should look at President Trump's recent post that has made some people panic, and then we should also then look at the news that happened right after. So I would read President Trump's post on this because like you said, Nara, when I read this post, I just can't imagine this being something that the Islamic Republic would be able to agree to, and if they do agree to. But Dajjal, your mic is open. Dajjal, okay, I'm gonna mute.
Do you have issues?
I'm gonna mute Dajjal. And even if they did agree to it, one way, if they found a way to agree to it, it would be it would not be the Islamic Republic. The Islamic Republic has fallen if they ever agree to what President Trump is saying here. But anyway, guys, I see the super chat, so I'm going to respond to it soon. So let me just go through it quickly. President Trump just recently, just a few hours ago, posted this saying Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately open, no tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines bombs, if any, will be terminated. We have removed through detonation numerous such mines with our great underwater mine sweepers. Iran will complete the immediate removal and or detonation of any mines that are left, which will not be many. Ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade, which will now be lifted, may start the process of heading home. Say hello to your wives, husbands, parents, and families from me, your favorite president. The enriched material, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust, which is buried deep underground with virtually collapsed mountains caused by our powerful B 2 bomber attack 11 months ago, sitting on top of it, will be unearthed by the United States. This is key. By the United States, which it is agreed is the only country along with China with the mechanical capability of doing so, in close coordination and conjunction with the Islamic Republic of Iran, plus the International Atomic Energy Agency, and destroyed in all caps. No money will be exchanged until further notice. Other items of far less importance have been agreed to. I will be meeting now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So the three things that we have to pay attention to the statement by President Trump is that it starts with Iran must agree. That means that all of this is conditional. Nothing has been signed. And then, so that's the most important part. The second and third important parts is that the Islamic Republic has to remove some mines, which if they do that, it involves a level of it would be hard for them to accept that level of lack of losing face in front of their own regime supporters. Their entire legitimacy would be broken. I could tell you how humiliating they will find this, but also a way that they will try to get around it with which again something that we already discussed. I think the whole internet, bringing the internet back and starting to make Pezeshkian look like he's an actual decision maker, and then blaming him for different things is has the Islamic Republic being preparing for itself for exactly this. This is my theory of what's happening. But the most important part is that it's not going to be China, it's not going to be Russia, it's not going to be the Islamic Republic. United States has to enter Iran and take the nuclear dust, which basically is the most means that President Trump hasn't budged at all when it comes to his red lines, because the Islamic Republic agreeing to the Americans coming into Iran to do this is them basically completely bending the knee. Just put yourself in a position of a regime supporter. How much legitimacy the Islamic Republic will be able to maintain if after they killed Khamenei, they killed your supreme leader, and instead of going for complete revenge, you're allowing them inside your country to take away your last deterring capability. That is not the Islamic Republic if they do that, and that would be the end of the Islamic Republic among regime supporters. The only way the Islamic Republic is trying to get a way around maybe being flexible somewhat to the Americans, but also not pay such a heavy price to their followers, is to use this tactic, which I'm not convinced is going to work, is to try to make a nobody that is Pezeshkian pretend that he's actually a decision maker out of nowhere, and by bringing the internet by his order, which is fake, it's not his decision, and basically go with the narrative that it's the reformers that have been the agents of Israel and United States inside Iran, and it is them who have actually created the conditions for Ali Khamenei to die by basically ruining the economy on purpose to cause the mass uprising in early January. And now they're doing the same thing, and that's why we have such a bad economic situation in Iran, is because Pezeshkian, by the orders of Zarif and Rouhani, alongside working with IRGC, are now basically destroying the economy again. And now also Pezeshkian has ordered the internet to come back to create the conditions for the next uprising for the Americans to be able to come and kill Moshtaba Khamenei. That's the conspiracy theory they're going with. But the whole purpose of that is to, by causing this hate and this pretend level of influence of Pezeshkian, if at some point they need to basically bend the knee to the Americans or be more flexible to the Americans, they could say it's Pezeshkian who's making these decisions, and don't blame the supreme leader, don't blame IRGC, blame the reformers. And if the regime supporters complain, that don't go arrest these people if they are traitors, if this is obviously treason, so why are you not arresting and killing Pezeshkian? They are going with the narrative like we are submitting to the will of the people. Pezeshkian was elected in by the people, and Mujtaba Khamenei respects the will of the people, and that's why no matter how bad his decision is, this is a democratic country. Again, I know you don't need to, I know that's a joke, but that's what they're going to. So I could predict before it happening that one thing they might do is they mention Imam Ali, the first Imam of Shia Muslims. They're going to remember his story because back in his time, he was supposed to be the first caliph and the first Imam of Shia Muslims, and the people didn't choose him. And Imam Ali said, I'm not going to lead if the people don't choose it. So they're going to say our supreme leader is basically acting like a true Imam of his time, just like Imam Ali of his time, where if the people don't want him and they want to vote for somebody like Pezeshkian to make decisions, he's going to submit to the will of the people. That is the bullshit narrative that they might want to push as a way to say the regime, to get the regime supporters to try to blame Pezeshkian and anybody who voted for them. Again, remember the elections are fake. There is no democracy in Iran, but they're going to but the pro-regime people, they are convinced that the elections are true. So blame the people who voted for Pezeshkian, not the supreme leader, not the IRGC. That's what I think they might do. And lastly, let me tell you the news. We just got air defense activity. Is this, where is this? Let me just look at this, make sure this is right. Yeah, so air defense activity reported in Reshmailand. Local residents reported hearing. This is just from just an hour ago. So we already have some kinetic activity in the region. And also, we had another news that the IRGC responded to this truth post by President Trump. And I'm trying to find it. Oh, here. So IRGC came out and responded to this. So let me read two news for you. So claims by US President Trump about a possible agreement with Iran this is the IRGC is saying this, are a mix of truth and lies and do not reflect the draft terms being reviewed in Tehran. IRGC affiliated Fars News reported, citing informed sources. The report said that draft agreement framed as commitment for commitment is in the final stages of approval in Iran, but definitive decision has yet been made. According to Fars, which is again IRGC, according to Fars, Trump has claimed victory by presenting points that contradict the text of the draft, even as he says the US blockade will be lifted. The report denied that Iran had agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz without tolls or conditions, saying no such clause exists in the draft. It said Tehran would reopen the strait after the blockade is lifted based on its own arrangements, which could include monitoring, inspection services, and security measures. It also rejected Trump's claim that Iran would dismantle or destroy its nuclear material, saying informed sources described the assertion as baseless. And then we had another update from IRGC saying that the IRGC affiliated Fars News said that the most important part of the draft MOU, which is not the deal, it's a memorandum of understanding. The MOU with the US is an immediate payment of $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets, which Trump did not mention in his Truth Social post. It also said a full ceasefire in Lebanon, in line with Hezbollah's position, was another key issue missing from his statement. So yeah, it seems like we can't be close to a deal, given that the Islamic Republic still says that, yep, no, we're not going to get rid of the enrichment uranium. We are going to collect $12 billion, and Hezbollah is a major red line for us. So we're not going to give up that red line, which is something that the United States cannot even offer, because that's Israel's choice, not the United States. So to me, it seemed like we're still far away from a deal unless something significantly changes. So we want to see what you guys have to say in the chat. Also, please remember that today I only can stay for 1 hour because I'm going to go on OAN in about 45 minutes. They want to talk to me there. So they want to talk to me about exactly this. So your responses will help me form a response at OAN as well. So let's go. And guys, I will respond to the super chats as well. So let's see what you guys have to say.
Okay, Jeff is first to respond.
Oh, 30,000-foot bird's eye view. Mullah regime remnants are trying to drag out all this nonsense in the hopes that somehow political will erode and then they can somehow wiggle their way out of this. Problem with that is that President Trump was very clear that's not the issue, and there are other elements of the Mullah regime remnants that keep provoking, like the United States and NATO. You just had earlier this morning a Mullah regime remnant provided Shahed strike NATO territory in Romania. So, yeah, Donald was not happy about that shit for either Putin or the Mullah regime. And I think if they continue to poke and prod, they're going to get a response they're not going to believe, which I would contend they deserve regardless. Either way, our force posture is very much still holding where it's at. We've locked down the strait. We own the seas. We own the skies and the eyes. We're maintaining eyes on with P8 Poseidons and ISR planes and E2 Hawkeyes and all the rest of it. So I'll go through the sit rep later. I'm just saying that's where I'm at. I would contend that, yeah, like nothing is. The only thing that's changed is that they continually irritate this president, which is not a good idea. If they want to continue to suck oxygen anyway.
Thanks, Jeff. Sketch, you're next.
Okay, I see there's a double misunderstanding. One misunderstanding is that the Iranians might think that they're going to continue changing a deal and will accept a changing deal because they know the IRGC won't change. On our side, we think we're going to accept a changing deal from the IRGC because they might give up on the nuclear stuff and then a deal happens. This is a misunderstanding because in Iran, it seems that there's a misunderstanding on us giving up on this nuclear stuff. We would not do that. We would not give up on letting them enrich. We would not give up on letting them have a weapon. And because they know the IRGC isn't going to give that up, and they may fear we'll make some kind of deal where they can do it later. And on our side, there's a misunderstanding. Maybe eventually the IRGC is going to reach a deal where they're not going to be able to enrich and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And this is a misunderstanding on our part on the IRGC being able to accept those terms. Now, if you understand a little bit of both sides, you know the US, for political reasons and just because Trump doesn't want to, but it's not just Trump, the whole administration, even the ones that are more politically inclined, understand that a deal would be devastating for the GOP, right? It would make all this seem for naught. And that needs to be understood. The Iranians are not maybe understanding that for the side that is there, like for the administration, it is unacceptable for them to have nuclear weapons. If the Iranians knew this, they would know there's not going to be a deal because they know the IRGC won't accept those terms. So if I was going to speak, like you talked about talking on OAN, I would speak to them, look, the IRGC is not going to accept a deal that lets Americans go in and get that dust. That's just not going to happen. So there's not going to be a deal. We keep talking about this in those terms. What I suspect is they want the leverage of that humanitarian effort. There was 2,000 ships, maybe 20,000 people stuck in there. And the first thing they want to get out of the way is get those people out of there because those people can't move. They don't have defense capabilities like maybe the Gulf partners, your Persian Gulf partners have been building up. They're the softest targets to hit. And that would be my worry. My thought, okay, let's get these ships out of here. And after we do that, we'll talk about the rest. We'll make a deal up to there. And after we get those ships out of there, then the deal will break down because I'm not letting you keep that dust and you're not letting me go get it.
But Sketch, before we go to the next person, what do you say to people who say, okay, so this we agree on. It's really hard for the Islamic Republic, close to impossible, to just, it is impossible, to just be like, yeah, sure, get the Americans in to get the nuclear dust. So getting a deal on that is basically so impossible that if it happens, that whatever you're talking to is not the Islamic Republic anymore. Okay, the Islamic Republic has collapsed if you get to that point, right? And we're just basically in the surrender period. But what if there are people who are concerned, like before we get to that point where there's a complete realization that we're not getting the nuclear dust unless we basically destroy these people. But what if the blockade is removed and all of a sudden the Islamic Republic gets access to a lot of oil revenue? So we understand the nuclear dust stuff, but if the blockade is removed, how could we justify President Trump allowing, if I'm not saying it's happening, because again, the statement by President Trump started with Iran must agree. So we don't know if any of this is happening unless I agree to everything that President Trump is saying here. But in the event that the ships do leave and the blockade is removed, and now the Islamic Republic is selling oil, what do we say about President Trump then? How do we justify that? Especially given that we have new reports that the Islamic Republic is already rebuilding its missile supplies and drones on a rapid scale, even without the oil revenue. So imagine what would happen if they do get access to that oil revenue. How do we respond to that?
They had their maximum oil revenue when we started, so we wouldn't care if they got a little bit more than they got right now, because they definitely don't get as much as they did when we first hit them, right? We dropped 13,000 on them, 13,000 bombs on them when we weren't really sure how they move. We're like watching, right? And we just kept going and going. So I would not place a deterring factor on them getting some oil back. That's practically meaningless to us. Oh, good, do a little rearming, just get those ships out. We wouldn't really care about that, right? Now, another thing, just because you open the blockade, that doesn't mean you're not having still operations against the Ghost Fleet. Number 3, insurance, right? So who is going to insure the ships going in? Any ship going in is going to be suspect. So if you're going to go in, you're going to be suspect of being Ghost Fleet. We're going to look at you in the logs. You say, hey, I'm not looking at a blockade. I'm just looking at you, little ship. Where are you coming from? What do you want? What do you got? Right. So you could affect a blockade that's not a blockade because you're just attacking Ghost Fleet. Ghost Fleet is a whole other matter. It's about sanctions on Russia. It's about sanctions.
Even with all of that, with the blockade not being there, the Islamic Republic will be significantly more capable of rebuilding what it lost.
It will never be as significantly capable as when we started, and that didn't stop us when we first.
But what I said doesn't negate what you're saying. Both of what you're saying and what I'm saying is true at the same time.
Yeah, we will be ready for that.
Okay, but there will be a lot of criticism in allowing that recovery to take place, though. Even if it's,
there would be criticism no matter what.
Yeah, but criticism by more. Not by people who are just have Trump derangement syndrome. We're going to get also criticism from more well-meaning people.
The criticism can be had. Criticism is something we welcome. It won't stop us physically.
It does reduce the political physically would not stop us, like militarily would not stop you, but it would reduce the political capital that President Trump has, and President Trump does rely on the.
Can we move on to more people because it's been 25 minutes and Armin has very limited time. Richard, can you please respond, but very shortly because we want to go to other topics as well.
Political capital is only spent during elections, so that's when that would happen. It wouldn't happen now.
Okay. Okay, Richard.
Okay, Richard, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, Armin, I just think it's worth noting quickly that the regime's attempts to scapegoat Pezeshkian in regards to the current negotiations remind me a lot of when Khamenei used to try to throw Rouhani and the reformists under the bus for blaming them for the reforms, that having them take the heat, so to speak, from the hardliners. He was the only one who could balance the two. I'm just curious if you think that the current junta under Vahidi is trying to do the same thing, and if they're being as effective, and if you think it'll work, assuming, again, that Pezeshkian can even take the blame for a deal that probably won't happen.
So here's the benefit and here's the con, right? With the benefit compared to Rouhani, Pezeshkian is a better puppet. He doesn't have his own agenda. He is easier to control. Rouhani has his own agenda for becoming a source of power. He sees himself as competition with other people. So even though he was useful to Ali Khamenei, because he had his own thing, he wasn't as good of a scapegoat as Pezeshkian is right now, right? Pezeshkian is retarded and he doesn't have any power leverage. So Rouhani is a force to be reckoned with within the, obviously nothing compared to IRGC and the Beit Rahbari, but among the reformers, he's like the major force right now. Pezeshkian is not like that. So that's the benefit of Pezeshkian. But on the other side, Mujtaba Khamenei is not Ali Khamenei. And it's easier for pro-regime people to eventually start questioning Mujtaba in a way that they couldn't have questioned Ali. Pezeshkian is not Rouhani, but also Mujtaba is not Ali, right? So that's the sad part for the Islamic Republic, is that Mujtaba is weaker than Ali, his position, but Pezeshkian is easier to use. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, excellent analysis. Thank you. Javi
Javi. Do we even know if Mujtaba has any living organs at the moment? I mean,
That's a good point. When it comes to Mujtaba, every time we say Mujtaba, we're actually not talking about Mujtaba. We're talking about an institution, right? We're talking about the Beit Rahbari. But yes,
Concept.
yeah.
Shauna, it's your turn, real quick.
Okay, I'm going to keep it quick.
Oh,
What I don't rec-
Jose. Oh yeah, it's actually yes, Jose. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And then it's
Okay,
you.
no, that's fine. That's fine. To everyone listening to the Trump Truth Social post that Armin read to us, I am a historian and I understand how to read things a little differently than you guys. He read articles of surrender, period. End of story. Everything else has been discussed, fine and dandy, but those are articles of surrender. And he said, must accept. That's it, done. History.
Oh wow, that was pretty to the point. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Shauna, go for it.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to say that I think that the attack on Romania this morning was actually, I can't prove this. I think it was timed. I think it's a way for the Russians to distract and buy time for the Iranians. I don't know why they would be doing this, but I think it's a distraction technique. I believe that I don't know what their core motive other than just distracting America is, but it's to distract from America and to get them focused on NATO countries, because then the Iranians are like free to rearm or do whatever they want to do. That's basically my point. Is I think it was very deliberate. I think it was very timed.
Thank you, Shauna. And then Armin, you also put a 2.
Oh no, actually, let me respond to what Sketch say. So Sketch, you're correct that when you're closer to an election, your political capital matters more when you're in election or when you care about the election. But President Trump relies on so many politicians to do what he needs to do, and they always have every single one that is next to you has more of a long term. They're thinking about their career. And even if President Trump is not facing an election, every single decision that President Trump relies on, every single decision that President Trump makes, he relies on people who have to worry about their upcoming election. So that's why President Trump having political capital, even if he's not worrying about an election, and even if he's far away from an election, matters at every single time. Every single person that is supporting Trump every single politician that's supporting Trump for every decision that he's making is making the calculation of if this is benefiting me to be close to Trump or if this is hurting me. That's a political calculation that every politician makes. So having political capital in a democracy matters every single day, all the time. But it's true that sometimes it matters more in some days compared to other days. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.